Tanse, hello to wow. Welcome to Eagle Heart Manifestation. My name is Eagle Heart Woman. And of course, behind me, looking over my shoulder, is my great grandmother, well known Cree elder, Victoria Calahoo. She was actually a medicine woman as well. Now, I've been asked by one of my viewers to talk about how my elders meditated. So I'd like to say that Mary May Strawberry was probably my first teacher. She was an elder who hunted and trapped in the Rocky Mountains that are actually closer to the city of Calgary than they are in Edmonton. So they're actually south of where I am speaking to you from now. And I think that she was teaching manifestation long before a lot of the teachers are today. So I just would like to share my experience with Mary May. When actually I reached out to shake her hand, and her hand was like a bear trap. She was so strong, and that's because of all the work that she did. She was on her own and living in a really drafty house, and she was hand tanning moose hides in the basement, but she seemed very happy to be doing so. So she told me to be a hollow bone. And I didn't know what that meant, but that meant she wanted me to empty my mind, empty my thoughts, and let the Creator work through me. And to be a hollow bone, she told me that it took courage. It took courage to empty your mind. And I thought, how could that take courage to just sit on a chair and not think about anything? She went back into time to tell me about how she felt when her first son was murdered. And not long after that happened, her husband passed away. So she felt so full of sadness and anger and that life wasn't fair that she actually stopped even praying. And she was a very spiritual woman. So she knew that she had to empty her mind, because she thought back to when her father taught her about being out in the mountains alone hunting. And if something like a grizzly bear was ever to surprise her or she surprise it, she needed to have a clear mind that had no fear in it to keep her wits about her and to take a shot with her rifle, and so that her aim would be true. And she also knew that for the 4 summers that she went to a Sundance that was about 300 kilometers away, it was back in her home First Nation reserve. She had no car at the time and no money, and she had her 10-year-old son with her. But she knew if she started walking that she was going to get to that Sundance. She told me that she felt like she was already there, dancing in the arbor with everybody else. And sure enough, she started walking, and somebody picked her up, or a number of somebodies picked her up, and she always got a ride right to the Sundance grounds. So she knew when she was in her sadness and anger and loneliness that she had to get rid of those thoughts. She had to sit and empty her mind and connect with the Creator once again. So she tried it. She decided to give herself 20 minutes, and she put the kitchen timer on her stove and sat and tried not to think of anything. And it went horribly. In fact, she felt even more angry and lonely and frustrated and mad at the world than she did when she first sat down to try to be quiet and to calm her mind. But here's where the courage came in. She had the courage to sit down the next morning and stay there. That took courage because it hadn't gone very well. And the same thing happened. But again, she had the courage to sit the next day and empty her mind. And within 2 weeks, the first 5 minutes were not very good, and she still had her anger and sadness and loneliness thoughts percolating up. But then pretty soon, in between 10 and 15 minutes, she started to get little patches of peace. And then toward the end, she absolutely felt calm and empty, like a hollow bone, and that Creator was connecting with her, and that everything from there on in was going to get better. So she told me that those few minutes that she got at the end of her meditation were enough to keep her going into the next day and the next day until she was actually healing and not thinking so down and out, thinking those down and out, just debilitating thoughts that she had been plagued with. So as I got to know her one morning, she took me out to meditate and pray with her. So we walked a ways from her house into a grove of, I think they were spruce trees. And she put a blanket down on the ground. And it was about 6 a.m. in the morning. And the sun was coming up and it lit the area that she was sitting in. And it lit up her face. And she was absolutely glowing. And it was like all of her wrinkles just dissolved away. And she was a young woman again. We were quiet. She smudged us first, and we were quiet. And then we were supposed to be stopping our minds or stopping our thoughts. Now, she was fine, but I was having a terrible time. I couldn't stop thinking about when she was going to start speaking and we could stop sitting there, but she didn't. And then it wasn't until she cleared her throat and actually spat on the ground that she said, "All right, everything's over." So she said any time that I would sit like this, if I would again have the courage to show up and keep sitting there, no matter how hard my mind wanted me to get up and get busy, because of course I had 1,000 things to do every day. She knew that I did, and I didn't have any time to do them. And even if I did sit down and meditate and pray, it was always just a little brief time because, the clock was ticking and I had to get going. She said, "Diane, Nimsis, if you would just stop and do the prayer first and the clearing of your mind, then it's like the Creator will come through you and guide you and give you the strength and the energy that you need to get done what you need to do that day. And at the end of the day, you'll feel fresh and fulfilled and better than you felt that morning." So I took that in, and then I asked her, "But Mary May, why did you spit on the ground? And then after you spit on the ground, you put your arms high up in the air." And she said, "When I'm in my meditation, I'm thinking of being that hollow bone that the Creator's working through. And it's like the hollow bone of an eagle wing, very, very thin and light." And that's how she wanted to be. So she asked Creator in her meditation to take out anything that might prevent her from doing what Creator wanted her to do that day as a hollow bone. So it was like those negative thoughts were gathering up from her body, going up her throat, ending up in her saliva, and then she spat them out. And after that, she felt like a clean, empty bone and kind of all shiny on the inside. And why did she hold out her hands and just smile? She said she was thanking the Creator for another day and that she was just so happy to be a hollow bone and have the power and the energy of her higher self. When I say Creator, it's just whatever you believe to be the highest, whatever hangs the stars in the sky and makes the seasons revolve and makes the wind blow. She is thankful for that power that's flowing through her as a hollow bone. and that she's creating what she wants in the world through the creator, or the creator's creating what he wants in the world through her, and that everything is flowing smoothly and she's in the right place at the right time. And I looked back at my notes and I wrote down something that I'd like to read so that I don't get the words wrong. She taught me that every breath that we take is sacred. When we're out of balance, we need to slow down and quiet ourselves and be still. She told me to breathe in and breathe out slowly than I have been breathing as I'm rushing around and getting all worried that I'm not going to get everything done or I'm going to be late. She said, slowly breathe and connect with Gismanatu, the Great Spirit. And then she said, when you do this, you know without a doubt that you are never alone and that you're truly loved. She said, if you keep doing this, you become a hollow bone. Power comes to you and then it flows through you and out to others. You begin manifesting, those weren't her words, but you begin creating, she said, and knowing through your higher self what your purpose is and what to create. So Gisawin, start to grow your strong mind. Be guided and watch your life change. And I'm going to give you one more Cree word, and it's akamemo. And that means keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Know that you're pure spirit and that you have so much to give this world. Hi, Kinan Skomatin. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.